Hey guys, welcome to L'amour et la musique and to my trio of pregnancy-related videos: pregnancy essentials, postpartum essentials, and newborn essentials. Each of these is going to be a separate video, and today we're going to be talking all about my pregnancy essentials. Honestly, pregnancy sort of seems like a lifetime away. I think that once you actually have the baby, you just go through this like weird time warp. So baby L'Amour was born in early November. So I spent the majority of 2018 pregnant. I had a very sort of textbook normal pregnancy. However, it was very difficult in the beginning. So I would say until about 18 weeks, even like 20 weeks, I had a lot of like heightened typical symptoms. I had extremely bad morning sickness and nausea, really for the first 18 weeks. I mean, it was sort of slowly getting better, but it's not like a flip switches after you get out of the first trimester and you're like magically better. It's like, at least for me, it was a very sort of gradual lessening of my nausea. I mean, at the height of it, I was sick for like 24 hours a day. I would wake up and be nauseous. I was throwing up a bunch. I lost weight in my first trimester. It was like one of those. Never had to go to the hospital for dehydration, but it was just like very challenging. So I have a few tips and tricks for getting through that. However, it was really just one of those things that I kind of had to go through, and thankfully it eventually subsided by like week 18. The best part of my pregnancy was really the late second trimester through the beginning of my third trimester. After like 34 weeks, I just got really physically uncomfortable and I was in a lot of pain, physical pain, hips, back, you know, constant urination, all the fun stuff. But my sweet spot was really like that late second, early third, which I think a lot of women can relate to. So today I'm going to tell you all about sort of my favorite products. There's not a ton. Actually, of this trio of videos, the video that has the most in it are the newborn essentials. I do want to share about some of my pregnancy essentials, and then I have a lot of good tips for postpartum as well. So let's get into it. Okay, the first thing people always ask is, what prenatal are you taking? In the very beginning, I mean, I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't even keep water down. So I would try and take a prenatal. I thought that the prenatal I was taking could have been contributing to my morning sickness, which is a possibility. So my tip with a prenatal, obviously check with your healthcare provider. I would avoid getting a prenatal that you have to take multiple times a day. A lot of them you have to take 3 times a day to get the recommended dose. I actually toggled between my regular multivitamin, which is the vitamin code RAW1 for women, but then I experimented with a few others. So I tried the My Kind Organics prenatal once daily, and I thought that this was okay. It's also by the brand Garden of Life, which is, I believe, affiliated with the vitamin code range. I think that that's a range within Garden of Life. So I thought this was okay. This had 36 tablets in it, and it was fine. However, then I discovered these Baby and Me supplements from the brand Megafood. This is the brand of probiotic that I was taking before pregnant, while pregnant, and now still continuing to take. So they actually have 2 versions. They have a Baby and Me, and they have a Baby and Me 2. So the Baby and Me 2 they're both labeled pre and postnatal. The Baby and Me 2, I think, is specifically, I'd have to go check and reread the descriptions. One of them they recommend more for postpartum, and I think it's the Baby and Me, because I've gone through 2 of these, and I had tried some other brands. I tried like a third trimester specific prenatal, and if you have to take them 3 times a day, I just was not into it. You can get these on Vitacost for a little bit of a discount, and also Whole Foods tends to run regular discounts on the Megafood brand, which I just in general really like this brand. I think this is also worth mentioning. I just scaled way back on supplements during pregnancy. I was pretty much just taking a multivitamin. I would take liquid magnesium before bed. I stopped taking like anything adaptogenic, so just bear that kind of thing in mind. I felt like my body really needed the sort of bare minimum while I was pregnant. So that's what I did. If you watched my Instagram stories at all, particularly over the summer, you will know this next recommendation. And funny enough, so I will sort of drop in and watch a vlog with Kendra. I think she just goes by Kendra Atkins now. I'll drop in and watch her videos sometimes. She's pregnant with a baby boy right now, and she mentioned this product and I was like, girl, been there, done that. A lot of times when you're pregnant, caffeine just doesn't sound appealing at all. Coffee is like very off-putting, and I think even when your food aversions tend to level out after the active morning sickness nausea period is over, to whatever degree you have it, you still don't crave a lot of the same stuff. Like I didn't crave sugar, I did not want coffee. Those were the main things, but I still kind of wanted something. I wanted a boost. So I became completely addicted to the Tazo organic chai concentrate, and I would make my own iced chai lattes at home. I would also get them out at Starbucks, but it's way more economical to just buy the concentrate, and then you can control the quality of milk or milk substitute to your choosing. And I saw that Kendra Atkins is also doing the organic Tazo chai thing, and I was like, I don't know what it is about that when you're pregnant, but I think it's like sugar, it has a little bit of caffeine, and I've also heard that a lot of pregnant women, I never craved ice cream, but I did crave milk while I was pregnant. It kind of hit all those marks for me, like ice cold milk just tasted so good. So mixed with the chai, highly recommend it, particularly if you're pregnant at all in the summertime. It's really good. Warm chai did not do the same thing for me. When the weather turned, I switched mostly to hot chocolate. Okay, now I do have some other body care products. That was really the main thrust of what I felt my body needed during pregnancy, my skincare. If you watched my 2018 holistic beauty favorites, I touched on sort of my favorite skincare of the year, so I don't really need to belabor that here. I would just say, at least for me, I wanted very, very simple skincare, and the one thing that I will repeat here is the Kahina Argan Oil. This was just kind of like my best friend. It was very all-purpose. I used it on my skin, ends of my hair. It was just such a nice pregnancy skincare option, and I'm continuing to use it now. As far as body care, something I did really enjoy doing while pregnant was taking baths. And I am not typically a bath person. I think if we had like a nice, big, beautiful soaking tub, which I totally want someday, and I know it's just so uber bougie, but they really are like luxe and amazing. I did try and take baths in like our smaller tub with like my huge belly. It was like quite a sight, but they help a lot. I was particularly after like a chiropractic adjustment, soaking in the tub that evening seemed to really help when I was having hip and pelvis and back pain. So I would recommend just picking up some Epsom salts because those helped a ton with pain. And then this was a recommendation from one of my really good girlfriends who has a 2-year-old and is pregnant with her second. It's the Herbivore Botanicals Coconut Milk Bath Soak. Something about this just was really, really nice while pregnant. It left my skin really soft. I went through the whole jar, and I would have repurchased it, but then I had the baby and I haven't had time to take baths since I've had the baby. So but really like kind of any nice bath product I think is a really nice investment when you're pregnant because it just feels super indulgent. Obviously be careful of essential oils. There are some that you're supposed to avoid while pregnant, like clary sage, for example. But obviously check with your healthcare provider. I recommend this one because it was just really luxe. It felt very Cleopatra-ish. Okay, then as far as additional body care, I will also repeat this from my 2018 Eco Beauty favorites. It's the CV Skin Labs Body Repair Lotion. I had so many product incentive versions for like the first, really almost like the first 2 full trimesters, like first trimester and this at least half of my second trimester. This was just like literally the only thing I could use on my body for a long period of time because it's unscented, like completely unscented, really moisturizes my skin really well. So if you have another unscented body care product that you like, I would recommend having that around. I've never found another unscented body lotion that I like as much as this. A lot of unscented body lotions actually tend to have like a shea butter scent or some scent, and even that was like making me want to hurl. So this was such a savior. And then of course, everybody wants to know about stretch mark prevention. I'm repeating this here. It was also in the 2018 Beauty Favorites, but this is the Petite Pie Pomegranate and Pumpkin Seed Stretch Mark System. I started using this. I didn't show for quite a long time. I didn't really get a noticeable bump until, I don't know, I was probably 20s. I don't even remember, like later half of my second trimester. Definitely after like 25, 26 weeks. I still wasn't even really showing that much then. But the place on my body where I actually did get stretch marks was on my hips. I think that you can do everything you can to keep your skin moisturized and healthy, but if your body is bearing the load, like in a particular place, so like women get them all different places, breasts, stomach, hips, butt, thighs, you can kind of get them anywhere. And I was surprised to see that my hips were starting to get like those new, when stretch marks are new, they look sort of purple. And I was getting a few new ones. So I started to focus more, you know, rubbing these products into that. But I did still get a couple new ones. I didn't get anywhere else, but you know, part and parcel of the process, I guess. So this comes with, and these are empty, I used the whole things up. It comes with a stretch mark oil and a body cream. And beyond like whether or not they prevent stretch marks, which on me they obviously didn't, they were still just really, really nice to use. And your skin when pregnant, especially when you start showing, is just super dry and getting stretched, and it can be really uncomfortable. So I recommend this. It also makes a really nice gift if you have a mother-to-be in your life. I did also try the Earth Mama Belly Oil, which was okay. There's a couple Earth Mama products that I really like, and then some that I just don't think stood up to other brands that I like. So this belly oil, I wouldn't necessarily recommend. The pie one I really like. In the postpartum video, I will be talking about some of the Earth Mama products for postpartum that I ended up really liking. So the other thing for stretch mark prevention, and not really even prevention, more like actively working on them if you get them, are multi-reflexology tools. This was something that I got too late in my third trimester to start working on. Baby L'Amour actually came early, so I was intending to have like more time to do some self-care, and then the baby came, so I haven't had a lot of time to work with these. I can't remember off the top of my head the site that I ordered these from, but they're a Canadian website, and I had learned about these from the therapeutic skin coach who I follow religiously on Instagram. So these are facial tools for facial reflexology. They do body specific ones too, but I corresponded with the owner of the shop because I had seen her make a comment on one of her posts about using multi-reflexology tools to work on stretch marks. So she recommended these two tools specifically for me, and I'll list the exact ones that I have down below. But they're basically supposed to provide blood flow and stimulation to where you've gotten the stretch marks. So just something to consider. Okay, I have a couple first trimester things that I can tell you about. If you are like me and you are experiencing or sort of trying to prep yourself before coming pregnant in fear that you might have really bad morning sickness, get yourself a pair of compression socks. I don't know why these help with nausea, but they kind of do. Any healthcare provider, if you're doing any traveling while pregnant. In my first trimester, I just did a lot of traveling. We went to Hawaii, and I forget, we also went to Las Vegas like later. So I had some long plane rides, and my healthcare provider was like, you're gonna wanna get a pair of compression socks. They help with blood flow. But I also just found that if I would wear them normally, they really helped with my nausea. As with everything, something would work for a bit and then stop working, but I recommend getting a pair of these or a couple pairs. I did also try the C-bands, which people recommend. Again, these worked kind of initially. So what you do with these, you put them on your wrist, and they're supposed to line up with an acupuncture point that's supposed to alleviate nausea. I wore these all throughout our trip to Hawaii, and they helped, but they didn't completely like take away my nausea. But they're not that expensive, and they're kind of nice to have around. If you are someone that experiences really severe morning sickness, you will hear the gamut of like all the stuff you're supposed to do, like keep saltine crackers by your bed, eat constantly, to always have something in your stomach, ginger beer, ginger ale. There's combinations of medication you can take, Unisom and B6, I think. There are prescription medications you can take. I actually had a prescription for one, and I never filled it because I just decided to power through, but everyone's cost benefit analysis with that is different. And I'm just really glad that my nausea finally abated. Also, something that people will tell you to make you feel better. I remember during my first trimester ultrasound, the doctor that was there, I was just like, I looked like death warmed over, and I'm sure the doctor was very used to seeing that, just said, you know, we love to see this. We love to see you not looking well right now because it generally tends to lead to better birth outcomes, healthy placenta development, and a healthy baby generally. So in the moment, it's like, if you can tell yourself, I know I feel awful, but it's for a productive purpose, like it kind of helps, but also like you just feel frankly really awful. The other thing I tried to do, and I wasn't perfect about it, but I'm glad I have what I do, is I got a pregnancy journal. I picked this one up at Barnes & Noble, I think, or maybe I ordered it on Amazon. It's from Peta Pumpkin, a pregnancy journal. A lot of them are like sort of cheesy. And I definitely did not write in it, you know, every day or every week even. But we did, Kaveh wrote in it too, my partner. And I'm really glad that we have it, you know, whatever we were able to. And this is like where I keep ultrasound pictures, and this was a list of names that we were debating. I get a lot of questions asking about baby L'Amour, which I totally understand. You know, is it a boy or a girl, and what's the name? I just am like, I'm still being like kind of private about it, honestly, but I do share about it on Patreon just because that's kind of like my small, tight-knit L'Amour community. And that's where I feel I can be a little bit more personal. So for YouTube and Instagram, I keep it pretty vague. Anyway, pregnancy journal, really enjoyed having that. And we also have like a baby journal now, almost 3.5 months in, and I have yet to write in it, but I will. I feel like a lot of people give book recommendations for pregnancy, and I don't know, I didn't do a ton of pregnancy reading or even parenting reading, but this was kind of the one notable exception. This was actually also in my 2018 favorites video. It's the book Like a Mother by Angela Garbus, A Feminist Journey Through the Science and Culture of Pregnancy. I knocked this out very early on in my pregnancy, and I liked it. I recommend it. It talks about the magic of breast milk production, and just I appreciated this woman's perspective. I mean, she goes into depth about like her birth story, and I just really liked it. As far as maternity clothes, also mentioned these in my 2018 favorites, but the brand Stork made my favorite maternity leggings. I picked up 2 pairs. I also really liked their nursing bras. The other place that I think actually does nice maternity clothes that are not totally heinous is H&M. So I picked up things kind of throughout the pregnancy. Honestly, I tried to ride out my regular clothes as long as possible. I did get a belly band. I didn't use it for that long. So what that is just a piece of like Lycra essentially, and you can continue to wear your regular pants and jeans just unbuttoned, and this belly band will kind of keep them up on you essentially. But there comes a point where you can't even do that. At least I couldn't. So I was really minimal and strategic about what I bought, because who wants to invest in maternity clothes even if you're planning on having multiple children? I got 1 pair of jeans, a couple of sundresses that were just kind of like flowy, like empire waist. I got a couple of maternity tops, a couple of maternity sweaters, and then a couple of maternity leggings. And that was like kind of it. I did a lot of laundry. So my favorite pregnancy underwear, and trust me, this is important because you kind of just want to be comfortable. I wore the Everlane thongs and regular briefs like throughout my whole pregnancy. And then this will be in my postpartum video, but they do like a hipster full coverage, like total mom panty type of brief. Those are amazing for postpartum, but for pregnancy, the Everlane thongs I really liked. You may cringe at the idea of wearing a thong while you're pregnant, but I just found them to be super comfortable, and they also do really, really nice bikini underwear bottoms that are great. They're just super comfortable. So that's what I recommend for that. Okay, we're almost there. So I want to mention a few bodywork things because these were so indispensable for me while I was pregnant. So what I did throughout pregnancy to kind of keep myself physically prepped and ready, I really didn't work out a lot. Pretty much every day I would try and at least get out for like a 20-minute walk. Sometimes I could go 30 or 40 minutes. Sometimes I could only do 10 or 15, but even just a 10 or 15 minute walk was wonderful. And then once I started feeling better, I was doing quite a bit of prenatal yoga. And I ended up going to 1 or 2 prenatal yoga classes a week at a studio that I found in Chicago that I really like. If you are in Chicago, Bloom Yoga Studio in, I think it's like in Ravenswood, Lincoln Square technically. They offer a prenatal class almost every day. I really, really loved going. I don't know if prenatal yoga classes are like this everywhere, but at this studio, it's like the only yoga class where everyone goes around and introduces themselves, says how far along they are and like what's kind of coming up for them physically or whatever. So it was just like it was a nice thing. And I found teachers there that I really liked. So I recommend that if you're into it. And then I started getting Bradley Method chiropractic adjustments from, I was probably 20 or 22 weeks along. Bradley Method, you can look it up. It's all about keeping the pelvis in a healthy position, which can help with your baby going into an optimal birth position. There are things that are totally beyond your control with this, like where your placenta decides to attach, that can contribute to like where your baby is. But, you know, I obviously wanted the baby to be head down if possible. And even when babies are head down, they can be in more or less optimal positions. They can be like face up or face down, but a lot of that doesn't actually get, you know, solidified until the very end. Babies are kind of constantly moving around and turning, and every woman's uterus is just totally different size, shape, whatever. So I don't know if it was the chiropractic or everything else I was doing, but baby L'Amour was in literally a perfect birth position. I highly recommend these Bradley Method adjustments, also just for your own comfort. I always felt like I got relief from hip and back pain, and it just kind of helped the energy flow. I did also get prenatal acupuncture. I have been a long time devotee of acupuncture. I started going in 2009-ish for menstrual cycle regulation after coming off of hormonal birth control. I actually did a whole video about how acupuncture really changed my life, and it's been something that I continue to use to help me at like whatever stage of life I'm at. So I do think it is nice if you are a first-time parent to take your partner and go to a birth class, whether that's sort of a one-day marathon type of thing. We ended up going to a 6-week birth class that met for, I think, 2 or 3 hours every Wednesday night for 6 weeks. It's just nice. You get to go be around other first-time parents, and we learned a lot. That's why I much preferred to learn my information that way. If anyone is in the Chicago area and would like a childbirth education recommendation, I'm happy to give it to you. And that's also where we hired our doula from. I did have a doula present at our birth, and I've also had some postpartum doula support from this place as well. Okay, let me quickly address 2 other things that people always talk about with pregnancy, and they are red raspberry leaf tea and rosehip tea. I think both of those. But usually red raspberry leaf tea, I think, is the one people talk about, and dates. So both of these are touted as natural remedies to help have an easier labor and childbirth. What both of them allegedly do are tone the uterus. There actually have been clinical trials and studies on both of these, and they have been clinically shown to help. So with the red raspberry leaf tea, you hear a lot of conflicting things. I don't know how many of you know that Mama Natural blog and stuff, who has kind of made a living off of like natural pregnancy stuff. I think on her website, she says it's safe after week 14. I remember talking with my acupuncturist about it, and she was like, personally, I wouldn't start the red raspberry leaf tea until your 3rd trimester. And even then, it's really on a case-by-case basis. I tried drinking pregnancy teas, and for some reason, I never felt like they were really like nourishing or helping. And I kind of tend to listen to little like intuitive feels that I have about that kind of thing. So I never drank it super regularly. I would have like a cup here or a cup there. And then I kind of intended as I got past week 36. So week 36 to 40 is when you can generally kind of like dive in with things that are uterine toning and contraction promoting, essentially. Baby L'Amour actually came at 37 weeks, so I didn't even have time to do all of that stuff. But in retrospect, seeing how all of my stuff played out, it makes sense to me why I was never attracted to the tea. I was essentially having prodromal labor contractions for like a week or two before the baby was born. If you don't know what that is, prodromal labor are just, it's like very, very, I mean, you barely notice them, like mild contractions. Some people have Bradley Hicks. I didn't really have those at all, but I did have prodromal labor contractions, which essentially felt like very mild menstrual cramps in the evenings. So I have talked about this like with Kaveh and with friends of mine. You know, when I went into labor, my water broke very dramatically at 37 weeks and I immediately went into labor. I had a 6-hour labor and the baby was born. I would not be surprised if when my water broke and I went into labor that I was already a couple of centimeters dilated from those prodromal labor contractions that I had been having. It makes sense to me that I wouldn't have been attracted to like a uterine toning tea because I was already, I guess I had a uterus or a body that didn't really need that additional stimulation. The dates, I had actually been eating dates throughout my whole pregnancy, not in the quantity that you're supposed to eat them to promote an easier labor. You're supposed to eat, everyone says 6, but it's totally dependent on weight. So if you are eating the big medjool dates, it's, I believe, 75 grams, which is usually just 3 to 4 medjool dates. If you're doing the Deglet Noor dates, it's more like 6 of those, but it's 75 grams. So I had been eating like a medjool date or 2 a day throughout my whole pregnancy. And I just intended to ramp it up as I got past 36 weeks. And I think I did spend that 36th week eating like 3 or 4 a day, but I'm not sure if it like made any difference. In my case, I really think that it was a combination of mostly the body work. Frankly, I think the chiropractic adjustments, acupuncture, and prenatal yoga were the things I think that made the biggest difference for me. And as far as getting into like a good, empowered psychological space to give birth, I recommend the Birth Hour podcast, but only when you feel compelled to start listening to birth stories. I was so averse to listening to birth stories in the beginning, and I think everybody's different. 32 weeks, a light switch flipped in my head and I was listening to these birth stories all day, every day. I was actually listening to one when my water broke. Week 32 to when I gave birth, I was like in the zone. I was just devouring birth stories. A lot of people talk about Ina May Gaskin. She has a Natural Guide to Childbirth book that's like a Bible in the natural childbirth community. I wasn't really compelled by reading those, but for some reason the Birth Hour podcast, like listening to them, just totally hit a home run for me. I have a couple of favorite episodes that I will try and remember to mention and link down below. Some of them were just so, I mean, they had me bawling in my car. They were just really beautiful. And I appreciate the breadth of diversity in the different stories that are told and all different kinds of births. In the end, I had a really beautiful, positive birth experience. Baby L'Amour was delivered by a midwife at a hospital. Kaveh was there, my doula was there. 6-hour labor, half an hour of pushing, totally unmedicated. It was amazing. I'm planning to go into a little bit more detail on sharing my birth story on Patreon. So if you aren't over there yet and you would like to support L'Amour et la Musique and get access to lots of bonus content, I always have the link down below for you, and I'm so thankful to everyone that's over there. So I hope you enjoyed this and found it useful. I will be filming my postpartum essentials and newborn 0 to 3 month essentials next. If there's anything that I didn't cover in this video that you have questions about, please ask. I am by no means an expert. I'm just sharing my own firsthand experience as a first-time mom. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the postpartum essentials video very soon. Bye.